Welcome, fellow Phoenixes, to the Spiritual Phoenix Podcast, where we make a daily offering to the divine by putting our past on the pyre, searching the smoke for spirituality, turning the ashes into art, adapting isolation into connection, and manifesting mental wellness. I'm your host, Ross Cessna, and I'd like to take a moment and focus on what we're grateful for today. Today, I'm grateful for all the strangers that showed me love in my life. There's been many, various times when I was homeless by my own actions. I got food, I got love, I got respect. Strangers that did kind things for me or just genuinely showed me respect. I appreciate that. It being Wordplay Wednesday, I'd like to get into a couple words. The first one is resentment, and resentment could be looked at as a resent mentality, as in something that you have to look at again to progress through. The next one would be forgive, and that could be looked at as forgiving another gives you peace for you forgiving them. You get the gift of peace for giving someone else the gift of humanity and be able to make a mistake. I'd like to get into today's topic, which is changing the world, and I have a couple quotes on that. Every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember, you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars to change the world. And that was said by Harriet Tubman. The next one is by Aldous Huxley, and it is, I wanted to change the world, but I have found that the only thing one can be sure of changing is oneself. And the final one is, the world as we have created it is a process of our thinking. It cannot be changed without changing our thinking. And that was said by Albert Einstein. And I realize that these quotes are somewhat at odds with one another, but in my mind they are not. Harriet Tubman reassures us the ability to change the world. Aldous Huxley informs us we can only change ourselves, and Albert Einstein tells us what we need to change in order to effectively change the world, which would be our thinking. With that being said, although Aldous Huxley makes it seem like we couldn't change the world, he did with his writing. His words changed my thinking and perception on reality in many ways, so he has changed the world. In my psychosis, I literally thought I was the savior of the world and had to change everybody. What a huge undertaking that would be. Today I have a different outlook. I agree with Einstein that changing the world starts with us. Change starts on a grassroots level by expressing our changed thoughts through actions. A kind greeting to a stranger, holding the door for another, letting someone go before you at a stop sign or in line or at a store. All these little things can make a big difference. I have said it before on this podcast, if I'm not mistaken, that a 3-second exchange with a stranger changed my whole day, and it has stuck with me 6 or 7 years later. I was walking through the community forest in Arcata, California, hungover, depressed, and isolated. I then heard a voice above me say, "Smile, dude, you're in California." After this, I looked at my surroundings. Redwood trees reaching for the sky, massive ferns everywhere, a tranquil stream flowing by my side, and moss covering many things. This was an idyllic spot I had dreamed of living in since childhood, and here I was ignoring the grandeur. This young man and I never spoke beyond this exchange, but it has stuck with me. That is who I have to become, someone who makes others remember the inherent beauty of our surroundings, the light in the darkness. I can't achieve this by telling people who to be, how to act, what to think, but by being myself, vulnerable, quote unquote, naked, and without fear of reproach. That is what I wish to achieve with this podcast, my blog, my speeches. Most of my life is centered on this principle. When I see hate and anger, I do not overcome this by hating the hater. Then I become infested with that which I am trying to remove from the world. Hate is a disease. And if you look at the word disease, dis-ease, or uneasy, that spreads by attitude. The cure for hate is love, which is unconditional acceptance. Hate is easy. Loving those that spew hate is simple, but not easy. A way to make loving those that hate simple and easy is by remembering this. Hate is an expression of anger. Anger is never a solo emotion. It is connected to other emotions and feelings, usually fear of that which they don't understand and sadness. Hate cannot be subdued with more hate. It is the equivalent of putting out a fire with flammable liquids. Hate is something that has to be squelched by example, in my opinion. Showing an opposing view in action and practice rather than through indoctrination, browbeating, or forced submission. My work and my life goal is to spread tolerance, educate people to inform themselves, show people how to think, not what to think, show people alternative avenues of understanding do exist. I don't want people to agree with everything that I say, as I don't always agree with everything I say later on down the line. If I am able to reach one person in this way, I have been successful. I don't need to change everyone. It is my belief that love has the same spreading potential as hate, but can be more difficult to administer because many try to force feed it to the unwilling. Love should have no agenda beyond to be a persistent state of acceptance. I am not always successful at not falling into hate with people. It is part of my mental diagnosis. I am working towards moving from a state of hate back to love substantially quicker, and I have seen positive results in my own life. I challenge myself and anyone who wants a better world to do the following. Love yourself, your flaws, your triumphs, your successes, your failures, your strengths, and your shortcomings. Number 2, make yourself vulnerable and non-reactive. I'm working on the non-reactive part myself. 3, accept yourself, accept others, accept your actions, accept the actions of others. 4, realize acceptance doesn't mean you have to like what they do. I don't like violent hate speech, greed, the destruction of our planet, but hating those that do so in turn spreads hate. And not accepting those situations won't let me work through them. Express yourself creatively without judgment. If you don't like the way you express yourself creatively, try other avenues. Every single person is creative. It is as human as breathing air, but it is beat out of us culturally as it is viewed as not having value unless you are good at it. If you like what you create, someone else will. You don't have to be Picasso. You don't have to be the best. You don't have to be the best poet, writer, musician, etc. You just have to be you and accept that you will always be worse as well as better than some. Gain knowledge of self. Number 7, when you witness hate, anger, violence, abuse, etc., don't turn a blind eye. Address it, but do not condemn it. Be empathetic and realize how much they must hurt. How inside of them is a small child who has fallen victim to a hard world and grown callous. We are born as imprints of love, and time hardens our hearts. Approach hate with the Socratic method of reasoning by posing questions and letting them find the irony in their own thoughts, actions, and words. Don't argue with hate, as it will further entrench yourself into its position. Do good acts of charity. Don't donate money to a cause. Be on the ground level. Pick one cause and get behind it. 11. Start by acting out these principles to those closest to you, family, friends, etc. 12. If you are in a pool of negative people who are full of hate, consider changing your surroundings, removing yourself from those people for a time, and then evaluating why they act the way that they do can be illuminating and lead to loving them and realizing that they hurt inside. We cannot change the world with the same line of thinking that got us to where we are today. Love cannot be forced. It is felt through action. I firmly believe that as a people we are progressing towards more tolerance. Sometimes it's darkest before the dawn. I certainly don't support Trump, but I wouldn't have supported Hillary either. But I have to love them regardless, because there's power in love. See, hate tries to impose power it doesn't have. Love will always find a way. Hate can spread because of its lack of power. It's people feel empowered when they hate, but the reality is they're not. I mean, I can't hate because then I become a hater. I have to love it, and not love the actions that it causes, but love the individuals that do those things. Because for me personally, there's growth in that. There's strength in that. There's power in that. And it's not a power of me. I'm not powerful because I can love. That's power of the creating source working through me. Me, myself, I am a fragile, broken person in many ways. But by letting love flow through me and being able to love myself and love others and working towards unity, empathy, understanding, I am empowered in that sense. And not empowered in the sense that I can really do superhuman things, but I can spread a message of love and tolerance and respect and dignity to others, regardless of their situations. My varied life has exposed me to many things that most people wouldn't want. I really wouldn't want the life that many other people have, as glamorous as it may be. And many people, most people wouldn't want my life in many ways. Or they wouldn't want to have to live through the things that I've been through. I wouldn't be strong enough to live through the things that many other people have lived through. And I could keep going on and on about this, but it's time to put this episode on the pyre. Please check the links below to all my social media accounts. If you're listening to this, you can watch a video of me talking on YouTube. And if you're watching me talk on YouTube, you can listen to me on iTunes or SoundCloud. I do free tarot readings occasionally, and I'm slowly building up a database so you can select a reading at random choice or read the most recent reading. A link will be posted in the description below. Please leave a review on iTunes if you like the podcast, as it'll help me reach new listeners. You can contact me via message on Facebook if you have any topics you wish to bring to light. You can also potentially be a guest on the show. Ideally, you will have had a major life obstacle you are overcoming or have overcome, and you'll have a positive philosophy, outlook, or inspirational attitude from those things. Please take the time to respond to the PodTrack listener survey, as it'll help me understand my audience. Also, if you would like to get paid to write, please click the link below. All you have to do is to be able to write 5 sentences in English. And with that, love and light, namaste.